Hey, I'm Uriel Kame, author of Eating for Energy. This is Raw Food 101, and this is a series of videos I'm putting together to give you the basics of what the raw food diet's all about, and really what, in general, what good eating, healthy nutrition is all about, and that's what I'm going to share with you over the next several videos. So today we're going to be looking at one, I guess, really basic question. What are raw and living foods, and is there a difference? Well, let's look at the first one. A raw food is pretty much anything that is in its natural state. It hasn't been cooked, technically over 118 degrees Fahrenheit, because that's the point at which the food enzymes within that raw food are destroyed. So for instance, an apple off a tree would be a raw food. Any produce that you'd find in any supermarket or grocery store would be considered a raw food until it's cooked, right? At that point of boiling or steaming above 118 degrees Fahrenheit, then the food becomes dead, pretty much. So we're going to be talking about this over the next couple of videos, but that's the basic definition of a raw food. Anything in its natural state. And we're generally talking about fruits, vegetables, sprouts, nuts and seeds. I'm not really a huge proponent of the raw meat, and obviously raw meat would be a dead thing. So we're not talking about the animal products. We're talking about natural foods, plant-based, vegan if you want to call it that. So that's a raw food. What's the difference though between a raw food and a living food? And that's an interesting question, because I don't think a lot of people truly understand the difference. And to demonstrate this, I want to kind of show you an example using almonds. So I have a jar of raw almonds here. I keep these in the fridge. So this is, if you can see it up close, it's an organic raw almond, right? That's great, no problem. That's all good. So that would be a raw food. That's a raw food. But in this bowl, I actually have, if you can see this, water soaking almonds, right? So almonds are being soaked in water. These almonds are living. They're alive. So what's the difference? Maybe you can see this one up close. It's a little bit more plump. It's retained the water. Now, so what is the difference between a raw and living food? Well, nuts and seeds are a great example of this, because generally higher protein nuts like almonds have enzyme inhibitors, which are basically protective mechanisms developed over, since the beginning of time to help protect plants and seeds and nuts to basically proliferate, and to keep their species going. So they have these enzyme inhibitors which keep them dormant. It kind of protects them. And you often see this with, for instance, squirrels. Squirrels will take nuts, or chestnuts for instance, and they'll bury them in the soil. And there's a reason they do this. So if we have a raw almond, there's enzyme inhibitors in here, which basically mean that the almond is dormant, right? The enzymes protect the almond and not really allowing all of its nutrients and enzymes to really come out to play. However, once you moisturize it, once you expose it to water for a couple hours in this case with almonds, those enzyme inhibitors are now disarmed, which means that all of the enzymes in this almond are now unleashed, which means that your body can digest them a lot easier. The protein content of that is actually a lot higher, and some of the studies have actually shown up to 30% higher amino acid bioavailability, which means that your body can use the protein in these nuts and seeds much more readily if they're soaked ahead of time. So the difference between raw and living is that raw in general is from a natural state. If we're talking about nuts and seeds, it doesn't necessarily mean they're alive though, right? Because if the enzymes are being kept kind of dormant because of enzyme inhibitors, you want to soak them to bring them up into a living state. So raw fruits and veggies, fruits and vegetables of any kind are pretty much raw, in their states. And naturally, nuts and seeds usually need to be soaked to bring them to a living state, even though they're still raw. So that's the first lesson we're going to be talking about today. Raw and living foods, what they are, what the differences are between raw and living. Hopefully that's helped you out. And if you want a ton more information on the raw food diet and really how to get started with it, you're going to want to go to eatingforenergy.ca/raw food 101. And when you go to that website, or that web page I should say, you can get access to a ton of information, including all of these videos I'm putting together on the basics of the raw food diet. So the website's at the bottom of this video. Should kind of see it right down there. Go check it out, and you're gonna get a ton of information to help you start eating a lot healthier. And even if you want to become a raw foodist, you can start to incorporate some of these principles into your diet to make a huge difference in how you look and feel. I'm Uriel Kame, and I will see you in the next lesson.